Hello, everyone. Do you know what you're listening to right now? You're listening to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast that follows Justin and Sheta, two first-time readers, and chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. Today, we'll be chronicling Elantris Chapters 11 through 13. And now, let's throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe! Thank you, Joe. Welcome, everyone, to Cosmere Chronicles. I'm your host, Joe, and I am, once again, stuck here with Justin Sheta. How are you two doing?
I'm good.
Well,
Oh, that's good. So, this week we're covering Elantris 11, 12, 13. How'd you guys like these chapters?
I enjoyed them. Got a lot of more getting deeper into the where the plot's actually going and what the characters are thinking about what they're seeing.
Yeah, this is the first time I read it with knowing how the chapters are with each character too. So that was an interesting way to read it, since it was kind of all mushed together before. But now,
now we're getting the flow of what this book is, big picture wise.
Mm-hmm. Now we're cooking.
Oh God.
All right, yep, so we'll get right into the chapters then. So we'll go right into chapter 11, which is a Sarene chapter. So this chapter starts. Sarene is at Kaine's house, waiting for the meeting with the noblemen that she had been talking about before. And Lucal, he's upset because only 5 people had shown up this time, when in the past they would get, like 30 people showing up for Raoden's meetings. Just going down like the 5 men who had shown up. So the men who showed up first are Eondel, the Count of the Eon Plantation, and he's a guy, he has a small little personal army, where if you remember in the past Raoden chapters, the guy he had found to join to be like a security person in his little area was part of Count Eoden's army.
That was a really interesting way to introduce that idea well ahead of it. Or I'm noticing that he keeps bringing stuff up within Elantris that becomes important outside of, that helps you think, oh, that's a thing when you come upon it.
Yeah, now we see he actually did know his master and thought he was pretty cool, since they've been going to these secret meetings together,
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a
he
fun
wasn't
way
just
to do it.
Yeah, he wasn't just saying it to get him on his side or anything.
No, that's true too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And another person is Baron Shuden, who's a Jindo man who helps direct the Jindo trade routes throughout the country. And if you look at the map, Jindo is just, it's south of Duladel. So you have the countries go Arelon, then Duladel, then Jindo. And Shuden, he feels that King Ioden's rule, contradicts the heart of Shu Kessig. There's Duke Royal of the Isle Plantation. He's the second richest man in the country. He is friends with Ioden, but he feels like Ioden's rule has been just horrible for the country. And they also believe he likely just comes to these meetings out of boredom. There's Count Ahon, a fat man who is either Royal's old friend or old enemy. The two of them, Royal and Count Ahon, always seem to bicker and are almost always contradictory to each other.
Yeah, that dynamic was too much fun.
And the last man that came is Baron Eden of Tai Plantation. He has the most to lose because he made some bad business choices and lost a lot of money, and he will lose his barony in the next taxing period.
Sheta, based on the characters you keep liking, I assume this is your favorite guy.
I did like him.
You seem to like the whiniest characters possible.
Yeah, he's whiny. He doesn't like what they're doing, but they're like, yeah, you're the one that needs this the most, so you can't even say anything. I think it's so interesting that because of how the king set things up with, if you're rich, then you get to be a noble, pretty much. That people like that would
the worst kinds of people.
Yeah, would get to be lords and try to hold on to their power as long as possible.
Then you have the opposite happening, where if you lose money, then you lose your nobility.
Yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
was really interesting to learn. So they've got a lot of incentive to really push the people under them.
Yeah. I guess that's not a very good system, if I have to admit.
It's a good
So
system for funneling money to the king, that's for sure.
So then Sarene shows up, and the men in the meeting are initially annoyed at Sarene joining the meeting. They don't really want her involved until Shuden, he brings up the fact that she would have been their queen if, things didn't happen with Raoden. And they decide to let her stay, but they don't really expect her to be involved with the meeting, and this makes Sarene realize that she has not been using her title as Princess of Arelon like she could be.
Yeah. She doesn't realize that. She's been a little upset with not getting to actually marry him without realizing the power that came with it. That was fun.
Yeah, I like that nobody expects anything of her instead of pretending that in an old fantasy world they would. Makes her a lot more interesting when she's coming from a place where no one expects anything at all of her.
I remember I think this scene had like the point where she says something and you have Royal just being like, I knew it. There's no way anybody can be as stupid as you've been acting.
Saying she seems as empty-headed as the actual queen, I thought was funny.
Well, now I'm all like, is the queen just playing it up too?
I don't think so.
Why would she?
I don't know. We don't
I
know that
think
much about
Sarene
her.
is a lot more well-educated than your average lady's going to be.
That's true. And her, just from her relationship with her father, you can tell she had a different upbringing.
Yeah, and it seems they do things a bit differently over there
Yeah.
when it comes to gender stuff.
Happened. During the meeting, Sarene brings up that this sort of meeting was Raoden's passion, and since she cannot get to know him like she should have been able to, she can at least get involved in his dream.
Yeah. Smart way to tie her to Raoden and kind of like wedge your way into being the leader of this little group.
Eondale, he asks Sarene what her trial will be. She has no idea what he is talking about. She learns it's something called a widow's trial and is something a noblewoman does after she is widowed. Sarene tries to ask what it is, but doesn't get an answer from them. The guys in the group, they say that she isn't really expected to do one since she never really was married to Raoden. And Sarene doesn't really like this because she doesn't like leaving unfinished business.
Mm.
In the group, they continue to talk, and they mention how there have been 2 balls since Sarene has arrived in the city, and she hasn't been invited because she's both in mourning, so not really expect to show up, and also invitation for the balls go to the men, and then they bring women to them. And since she doesn't have a husband or a significant other, she doesn't really have a way there. So she decides that the men in the group will take turns bringing her to the balls. They'll take turns because that way it doesn't come off as her potentially starting a relationship with one of them. And also, since most of them are married, it won't really seem like the same thing that she's starting a relationship with them. And since she'll be jumping between them. And
It seems like gossip spreads through the nobility very quickly based on that. Like a bunch of rich nobles have nothing to do all day except start talking about who's banging who and that stuff.
Yeah, but it sounds like she is aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she's like, this is the best way to do it. There's not a story there.
Yeah, I liked seeing that she's not only book smart and all that stuff, but she's aware of all the feminine expectations and what people will think and say, and she's not rebelling against that. She's using that just like she uses everything else.
And I'd say too, even the real world with people who aren't nobles or anything, if you have like a group of friends and you start showing up to a party always with the same girl with a guy with a girl, most people start expecting that they're a thing.
Yeah, but that soon after a widowing,
yeah,
I think people give a little slack. What's that?
Yeah, just the story that she wants to paint for people. Like, just a bunch of older gentlemen, being an escort, like a kindly escort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that she's aware of that stuff instead of being the type of character who thinks, I don't care what people think about me, which doesn't work for politics and nobility stuff.
Yeah. I do wonder if someone smarter will be like, well, linking these guys to the rebellion and stuff like that.
Well, these guys were Raoden's friends too, correct? or at least colleagues, besides the whiny little guy.
Yeah, Royal was also, the king's friend.
Mm. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I think most of them are. Like, Lucal was considered Raoden's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was only her uncle that was like openly against the king and friends with him.
I just love learning every little thing he does to piss off the king as much as possible. Just all these little things. It's such a funny element to the character.
Yeah, now she's more suspicious than ever that the king had his son killed or done away with.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
So
he was a little rebel already.
Right, so the group continues talking about, what they, might do and stuff. And they talk about potentially using Eondell's army to take the kingdom via a coup. But they aren't too high on this because they believe the army probably wouldn't win. And even if it did win, then the kingdom would be built on blood and it would set a bad precedent to constantly have new regimes take over in bloody ways in short periods of time.
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
point. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because they just did that.
Because when that starts, it doesn't stop for freaking generations. And if you know that you've, overtaken this new system and you've got to every single second of every day be ready for an armed coup to come against you, that just does not sound very like their goal to kind of make things better for the peasants. It does not sound like it would have that effect at all.
Mhm.
And now Sarene, she pipes in and she has come up with her own plan to use Raoden's system against him. Over time, she had looked through the money and everything in Arelon, and she knows that the production levels at Arelon have gone down in the past 10 years. So Serene's plan is for the noblemen in the group to give their workers their own field and to offer the workers 10% of the profits of their field. This way, if the production goes up, then both the noblemen will make more money and thus more power, but they also show that peasants with freedom are more productive than those in a serfdom.
That's a very
Yeah.
ambitious plan for that time period and area.
Yeah, it's really radical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised anyone would go for it because they're like, that just sounds like the opposite of what of what we've been doing, and it never worked.
I think it works because they all have in their memories the Elantris times when things were a lot more free and individual than it would normally be in a medieval setting type time. So they've got the
I guess
concept
so.
of that in their head. At least that would be my reasoning for how quickly they take to that.
I thought it was like they didn't really have another option except for the coup. No one really wanted that.
Which, yeah, was not a good idea.
So, yeah, the men in the group, they try to push off a decision, be like, all right, we'll think about it. But Sarene kind of forces them to decide right now. And Shuden, he's the first one to agree. And then, after some talking, Royal also agrees to it. And once Royal agrees, then the others are more willing to.
I liked how she convinced his best friend / enemy to agree to
Oh, yeah. That was the funniest part.
when he was all unsure.
Well,
And
he
she's
only half-heartedly agreed, so...
if you full-heartedly, then you would be
Yeah,
better than him. Or like,
a way to be not the same. That was very
yeah,
funny. And he has a boisterous laugh at that,
yeah. And he compliments her on being a politician.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so after the meeting is over, Kaine and Royal are talking about how Sarene was able to best Royal. And Royal, he had clearly expected to take over the group since Raoden was gone, but Sarene wound up taking it over instead. And Royal points out that Sarene gives the group hope, like what Raoden did.
He was a little upset though, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That she kind of forced or pressured him and forced him in a way that wouldn't be good in the future to do.
Yeah, I like how he's not quite chastising her. It's almost more like warning that
Yeah,
was
like
not the correct move to make, and that if the other guy didn't do the nod, then he doesn't know if he would have agreed. That was interesting because it showed, she's very good at this, but she's not like, completely perfect at that stuff, which is always annoying, of course.
yeah, I think she's inexperienced with actually interacting with people like that.
Mm.
I don't remember exactly what the problem was, but he kind of teaches her a little bit Or
Well, he was saying that he was going to come back in the affirmative in a couple days anyways, but when she pushed him into a corner like that, his pride would almost not let him agree until the other guy did. Because also he'd be giving up power in the group if he did too.
yeah.
So the other guy
Yeah.
doing like a slight nod gave him his out, and then he's like, if he's gonna do it, then I guess it's okay with me. Like she read him just a teensy weensy bit wrong for how to politic people into doing things.
Mm.
And then she respected his opinion. I liked, like, she wanted to gain this nice old man's respect.
Yep.
Like,
Some
it
of
just
that
made,
some of that sort of stuff Brandon Sanderson did talk about when he was talking about Sarene, because he was saying he didn't want to turn the book into a political statement about female empowerment.
Mhm.
And so, while you would have some of the stuff of, her being in like a patriarchal society,
Mhm.
a lot of the reactions that she gets aren't because she's female, but more because she's bullheaded.
Yeah.
And she tends to give too much stock to the fact that she's a woman, even though if a man acted the same way as her, he too would have gotten the same pushback that she did.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not getting any kind of agenda out of the book. It's more just, interesting things about different types of people and stuff.
Yeah, because Brandon Sanderson said that the sort of because he said it's been overdone in fantasy, the woman in an oppressive masculine world seeking to prove that they can be just as cool as they are.
Oh, just wait till they adapt this into a show.
No. One thing I thought was interesting was that technically Royal would be richer than the king if he didn't count like the taxes or something.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. They theorized that because the king counts his own taxes as income, right? The
Yeah,
tax
like
to the kingdom. That's such a cheat. That was quite funny
mhm.
too.
So like he barely qualifies to be king.
Well, I mean, all the taxation is from everyone, including them, right?
Yeah.
So Sarene continues to talk to Royal and Cain, and she brings up the possibility of Raoden being murdered. Cain and Royal don't believe that this is possible. Sarene does point out that the timing was very convenient for Raoden to be killed. Since he was killed right before he would have married her, and a possibility of creating an heir that Iodin would not be able to deal with. She says that she will check around the palace for any possible clues to his murder. Royal questions if Raoden is possibly still alive, but Sarene doesn't believe it. It'd just be simply too dangerous to keep him alive because he could still possibly return in 10 to 20 years. Like
Yeah, there's
just
too
a
many
lot.
situations of a long lost heir from the woods coming in and claiming the throne. I thought was funny. For too many stories of it.
And Royal brings up that Iodin was a better man before he was king, so there's likely still enough compassion in Iodin to not kill his son.
Yeah, it was
Mm.
interesting when he said that because he said it was like something changed in him. And I wonder if it's just his fear of losing his position or if there is something more to that.
Yep, and Sarene, she's sending Ash into Elantris to scope it out because she wants to find out more about the city and why Hrathen is just so interested in it. Keen questions why she is so worried about a priest, but she points out that he is a Yorn. She also says that she believes he is the same Yorn that was behind the fall of Duladel. And Kane does caution Sarene to be careful. Anything else in this chapter? It was quite a long one, a lot of talking and everything. Anything else you feel that we missed or you wanted to discuss?
I was surprised that she got into the meeting so easily. And I like imagining like what it was before Raoden died.
I'm worried about the little what was his name? The guy who is poor and he's gonna stop being a noble next tax season.
Eden?
Yeah, I'm worried about him. About something happening where he's gonna get some riches all of a sudden. I also think it's interesting that they're kind of starting to make the beginnings of a little, because they've already got this merchant system, and now they're going to start giving the people on the ground floor the ability to start owning their own land, making their own money. They're kind of forming a weird little feudal capitalist society thing there. I'm curious to see if that goes anywhere. I like the idea that he's saying if you give the people the power to work for themselves, own their own stuff, they'll love you and they'll work much harder than if you're just whipping them. That's not usually the angle that people who are trying to seize power would take.
Yeah, I wonder. I hope it turns out in their favor.
No way does it turn out in their favor. Everything's going to go horribly wrong halfway through the book. Well, not halfway, but towards the end.
Well,
With Eden, another interesting note is if you look at the map of Arelon, because they also mentioned a couple times in here about the chasm, because his little section, T, there is just a big chasm that goes through it, so he has less farming land than the others.
Yeah, he was really whiny about that. It's not my fault. And he was the one that was least accepting of the idea of letting them work for themselves. That made no sense to him.
yeah. He's like, I'm struggling to maintain power now.
Yeah, I whip him as hard as I can. I can't whip him any harder.
Chapter 12, which compared to the other 2 chapters we did, was fairly short.
Yeah, I was so surprised when the chapter just was only a few pages when you said they were longer. But yeah, the other 2, yeah.
Yeah, I think so far in the book, all the Hrathen chapters have been pretty short compared to the Raoden and Sarene chapters.
That matches his personality. He's so straight to the point. He just logically thinks the thing and then done.
All right, so Hrathen is in the middle of giving a sermon, and he's thinking about how he's giving it in Aeonic. Fjordell was Yadith's chosen language, and it was difficult for Hrathen to accept any other languages. But he had eventually learned Aeonic and Dúladin, and a little bit of Jindo, in order to convert more people, but it still bothers him.
Oh yeah, I really liked his things he said in here. Let's see.
Yep, and Hrathen, his sermon that he's giving is very calculated. He has given this sort of sermon over and over again. He gets quiet and louder at very specific moments. And he notes that the church is pretty full, but he knows that most of them are not really here to convert. They just want to see a Yorn. But he knows that it will be a status symbol for those who were here early on, so they will keep coming until they eventually do wind up converting.
Yeah, I like seeing him kind of think in his head while he's giving this sermon, because he's given it so many times that it's just a performance. It takes no effort from him.
Yeah, I really like that. He's having all these doubts. He seems like too smart to be what he is. He keeps following a logic where not teaching it in Jadith's own chosen tongue.
Yeah.
Is this even okay? What if it would lead people to thinking they don't need Jadith? If they don't need to learn the language, then maybe they don't need, he's all following this logic that he just doesn't like. He just would rather not think about it like that, I think.
It's interesting, their pyramid scheme system, because he does just all those doubts he just puts to the person above him and well, they said it was this way, so that's how it is,
Yeah.
I don't need to answer those questions. I just need to follow what the orders are.
Yeah, because he says that's the way the setup is, where you just do your one job, don't look anywhere else, just do the one job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's doing. But I did like his mechanical sermon that he does.
Mm-hmm. I liked imagining it, him being and then the Lord said blah blah blah, and just doing that without actually feeling it sounded really fun to me.
So after Hrathen finishes his sermon, the people in the church begin to leave. However, Dilaf suddenly begins giving a speech.
Dilaf!
Leaps out of nowhere and starts it.
His speech isn't calculated like Hrathen's, but is filled with passion and hatred. And the speech is mostly about the hatred of Elantris and the Elantrians. And the people in the church are starting to get drawn into this speech.
Mm.
That was my favorite part. I think after the reaction of the audience, after Hrathen's speech, he was just like, no, they don't understand. I have to say something. He just comes in, probably tears in his eyes about how passionate and hateful he is.
Will you ever see pastor givers who do get that passionate, where they are crying and screaming? It's very magnetic,
Mm-hmm.
It's almost kind of scary.
Mm.
And Hrathen is jealous of this, because he has never felt the passion that Dilaf feels. Hrathen, when he was younger, he had been drawn to Shu-Dereth because of its logical philosophy and the, just very, this organization style of the religion. He always felt he was a perfect follower of it because of his level-headedness.
I was like, Hrathen, you're a freaking hall monitor. Like, he's like, he just loves rules and organization. It just is so neat to him. He's funny. No, that made me like Hrathen a lot because he's kind of a nerd.
Yeah, the more we learn about him, the more interesting he actually is, and nothing like I would have expected from the start. Being drawn to that orderliness in a religion is so different than what Dilaf is clearly drawn to.
I like that he's jealous. Like, dang it, I don't have that in me.
Yeah, it's interesting that he doesn't deny it. He knows I have a jealousy of that. He doesn't like resent Dilaf for that.
He is wary of him. He chastises him, which is funny.
Yeah, because he just jumped in out of nowhere and started screaming.
Oh, can I say? I loved when he yelled at Dilaf, and Dilaf's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even plan it. I just kind of felt it, and I kind of just went for it." I just really like that part.
That just makes me think, you go to church, you have, pastor gives sermon, stuff, he's done. Then somebody else just goes up there, and the Lord says, fuck that city.
Yeah, like,
we need
I hate them.
I like how Hrathen understands as he watches out and sees people captivated that to really win a religious argument, you can't just do the logical. You need logical and emotional to appeal to people. I thought that was really interesting. And it's more interesting to me that he didn't already just know that as a fact because, people are way more swayed by emotion. Like all the people he's trying to convert, I don't think any of them are really like him,
Yeah, that's the thing. As someone who's more logical like that, Justin, like you just think, well, it makes sense. So it should make sense to everyone.
Yeah.
But like if you just know it, then you'll know it. But
you just start screaming out emotional nonsense and everyone's like, yeah, I have feelings too. Yeah,
Yeah, people connect to emotions more.
Yeah. It's really weird and funny.
I think he thinks that he could maybe have Dilaf help him with that part, but I'm not sure.
I'm almost like Hrathen. I don't think anyone cares about the logic,
Yeah, no. If that was the only thing that was in the way, it would have worked already.
Like I could see Dilaf twisting this into his own little separate branch or sect of this religion,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
After Dilaf's speech is done, Telri, he goes over and talks to Hrathen, and he tells him it was well done to have Dilaf give a speech after Hrathen.
Yeah.
He had noticed that, plenty of the people were getting bored during Hrathen's speech, and Dilaf helped refocus everyone's attention.
And what does Hrathen do?
Well, Hrathen asked, he does also ask Telri if he has considered his proposal, and Telri's just like, yep, I can't refuse it.
But he plays it off like that was the plan all along, because he's not going to say it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hrathen goes over to talk to Dilaf about the speech, and Dilaf, he says that he just suddenly felt the need to speak. It wasn't planned at all, like you had said. And Hrathen says it was well done, but in the future, Dilaf needs to remember his place and get permission from Hrathen first. And Dilaf agrees.
Yeah. These guys seem like in a different story, they'd be a hilarious comedy duo. Like your ultimate straight man and then your wacky sidekick.
Oh, sorry, boss. I just needed to go up there and say
next time you warned me ahead of time, eh?
Yeah, sorry, boss.
Oh, you need a dopier voice.
No,
sorry, boss. I just go.
Yeah, but Dilaf's not like that. He's not a doofus. He's just like the smarter sidekick.
Oh, you got a pinky in the brain thing going, right?
Yeah.
All right, enough of that. We've ruined this book now.
Putting Dilaf in the comic relief of the story, yeah, that's not his character.
What are we doing tonight, boss? The same thing we do every night, trying to convert the heathens. Terrible. I'm ashamed of you, Sheta, for ever saying this.
Me? You gotta say, what are we doing tonight, Yorn?
Oh, God, no. Okay, I'm not done. That was terrible.
You gotta make it nerdier, Justin.
Oh, God, no.
It's Hrathen and Dilaf.
Oh, no, we don't need a song. We don't need a song.
One is a Yorn, the other's fanatic.
God.
All right. Anyway, so
Well, I think we just lost any viewers we've gained right there.
luckily we're audio, so we don't have viewers.
Oh, any listeners then, I'm sorry.
Like we're gonna have listeners.
Well, we lost the one who was following us this far.
No, now we'll get a true follower.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that follower.
I would. I want you to follow us. We're gonna have more good stuff like
Please
that.
stay the hell away from me, just warning you.
All right. So after this, then Hrathen goes into his office and locks himself in. And he goes to a chest and opens it up through a whole elaborate lock system.
This is creepy.
Because he cannot let Dilaf see, since Dilaf will never rise above the rank of a priest. And inside the locked chest is a Seon. Even though Seons are considered heathen magics in the Shu Dareth religion, the Yorn still use them in order to talk to Wern.
I shake my head at this. This is just so... I cannot believe the hypocrisy. How can he even go forward with this religion?
He had some problems with this.
Yeah, this is the worst one. How
But
can he
it's not up
forgive
to
this?
him.
Yeah, he has problems, but he goes along with it similar to the same way how he goes along with using languages besides Fjordell. Because it's still for the good of Yadith in order to be able to talk long areas of communication. And with the Seon, even though it's just locked in a box for so long, it doesn't seem to mind or be upset or anything.
This is the creepiest thing that's happened.
Why is it so creepy?
It's just so creepy because we've learned that Seons, they have a whole personality. And like our Raoden, he was so sad when his Seon was all crazy and stuff, Like they have feelings and thoughts and things,
We
and
don't
then
know
he's kept
feelings.
Well, they're not just a thing though, like a computer,
Yeah.
They have souls and stuff.
How do you know that?
Well, I mean, they have something more than
They
just.
could just be a really advanced AI interface program for all we know.
It's still creepy. He keeps it locked up for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just so creepy how they keep it all secret, like one of those like really shady like religious secrets. So secret, they have a personal key, and the only person that knows about it is a creepy mute attendant that his only job is to watch it and stuff.
None of the combinations are written down anywhere either.
Yeah. This is like a dark secret, that could collapse all of the religion.
Or it would be a huge embarrassment if it got out, he said, right? Or he thought.
It could shatter the faith in it and stuff. To know that Warren, the prophet, uses it, like it's just so it's like learning that like a priest has like goes to
Be
like
careful
a
with
whorehouse.
how you finish that sentence.
Okay. I'm just saying it's shady.
Yeah, if
The
that
worse
didn't
than
bring
shady.
down that religion, I doubt this will bring down this religion.
Just any kind of religion that keeps like big secrets is so creepy to me. Because people trust it for real,
Mm-hmm. People have faith in it, and they have faith in what you're telling them. So when you do something that goes against what you're telling them to do, that does shake things a bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It makes me also really think about Hrathen, like just hearing how he was kind of justifying things before. Like, how many more things is he justifying like this?
Yeah.
And how long before it breaks? I'm just waiting for it to break.
Well, that's his problem. He's so logical. I think he could justify just about anything if he had to, Like, I think that's part of why he's so good at his job, and he's so trusted to know all these things that other people would get all messed up about. But he can reason through everything, it sounds like.
Yeah. But it sounds like he's already reasoned through a lot. And there's a couple things that really wear him down, like the violence and the lies and the things that just contradict the reason in the logic. Yep. And then, of course, when she's gonna say something that's gonna break all of it for him.
God. She's just going to say the perfect logical argument like Kirk does to a computer and just break him.
Yep.
No, thank you.
And so Hrathen uses the sound to contact Wern. And to Wern, he's going to bring up the proposal that he made to Telri.
That was, scary.
Right. Anything that you feel that we missed during this chapter?
I don't think we covered mostly everything.
We'll move on to chapter 13, which is the one that I feel had the most stuff in these chapters. Starting off, Raoden, he's found a journal that is just written in aeons. It says Aeondor on one of the first pages. So he believes that this journal will have the information that they are looking for to solve their problems. And while Raoden cannot read aeons, he did have a little bit of schooling on them. He has also found a dictionary of aeons. So while it will take him time to do, he plans on translating the journal.
That sounded exhausting.
Yeah, but it sounds like a start to figuring out the magic.
Yeah. You're excited for that?
What the hell else are you gonna do in there? You know?
Yeah.
Like, if you find something that could lead you to having magic again, that's it. That's your goal,
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to have a real goal.
Kind of makes me think of times when it's, I want to read this manga. Oh, there's no translation for it. All right, let me go onto this website that has a little Japanese keyboard. Just look at the letters, try to find the matching kanji, click it in there
God.
to make a sentence, then put into Google Translate.
Oh, God.
I tried that, and I only tried that at times when the Google Translate on a phone was not able to get the pictures because the manga was a little too blurry, and it's just like, oh, fuck this. After a couple pages,
Yeah, that sounds
just
beyond exhausting.
So I just imagine Raoden doing that. Just, all right, look in the dictionary, find this word, put it there, write it down. Then once you get a full sentence done, all right, now how does this make sense together? So even with Japanese, even when you get some stuff, it's like, all right, I have 3 sentences here, and this is just gibberish. I need to figure out what exactly did this say, since I also don't read any Japanese myself.
Oh, so, if you ever have a project like that, my sister took Japanese in school, so she can read Japanese, so she can proofread it for you if you need.
Yeah, I found fan translations of stuff and other stuff that's too old. I just say F it.
I'll just
But just doing that, for
at that point, why don't we just go learn Japanese? Then you can cut out the middleman yourself. I mean, how long could that take?
Yeah. I mean, are you already fluent in another language? That helps. All right, then it's longer than you'd like.
Especially one with a different root language.
Yeah.
Plus having to read something in Japanese is all right, you could learn hiragana and stuff. Once you get into kanji with thousands of different things, it's like, oh god.
That's why you just guess what they're saying from the context.
Or I just give up on this plan. I'm just saying that from doing that a little bit, I kind of understand what Raoden's going through.
Oh, it sounds exhausting. But again, like Sheta said, what the hell else are you going to do?
I would be excited for a project like that.
Yeah. It'd be exciting to know that maybe you're moving forward until you realize this is just a frickin' cookbook or something.
If it's a cookbook for magic, that'll still be great. I mean, they need to frickin' eat in there.
Yeah, well, it's not a slime cookbook.
The thing the Elantrians have is time.
Yeah. Until you get a paper cut. Oh, God, no.
I'll just read very slowly and carefully.
That
might be one of the worst ones.
All right, so Mare and Real are still fixing the roof of the building. And, in the past week or whenever it was, a new Elantrian named Lauren has been given the job of moving rocks and exposing the soil of what was likely a small garden in the past. Galadin questions why, and Raoden just gives him a sly smile and says, "You'll see." Raoden also notes that they cannot rely on getting only new Elantrians to join because there are not enough newcomers coming into the city.
Yeah, they had a couple of days with nobody coming in.
Yeah, I think it was like almost a week, like 5 days or something, right? Which I was wondering too, how often they're pushed in there. So it seems like it's just completely random.
Yep, that's what they said. Some days they'd get 5 people and
Hmm.
then they wouldn't get anybody.
And then
God works in mysterious ways.
And then an unfamiliar man named Kahar shows up. And he says he wants to join because he has heard that Spirit has a secret to make the pain go away. Kahar had been in Elantris for almost a year, and the injuries are just almost too much. He figures that he could give Spirit a chance or just join the Hoid. Raoden asks him what his previous job was, and after some thinking, Kahar believes that he used to be a cleaner. So Raoden gives him the job of cleaning the slime off the surrounding area.
I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
When I heard it, when he was like, "Oh, it's a cleaner," and I was like, "Oh, that's not useful." Then I was like, "No, it's covered in slime, so everything is." I think that will make everyone feel much better to not live in dirt.
Yeah, that'd be a huge change, like
If
just
you walk in
walking.
there,
Mhm.
yeah, and be like, "What? This is like a normal place." Like,
Yeah, you'd feel like he wants people to feel like you're actually alive again. You're not just in
yeah.
slime hell. That slime sounds so disgusting.
hmm I mean, I know it from like old jobs where I walk into work and you just feel the grease in the air, and you just want to die. Like,
Oh god.
Raoden is struggling with the pain and the hunger. He knows that everyone looks up to him, so he cannot even show the struggle that he has. He has to always
Mhm.
be confident and happy, because he knows that if he cannot bear the weight, then no one else will. He also wonders that if he fell, then how many of the others will fall with him.
Mhm. That was
yeah,
really
he's really,
interesting. I should.
oh yeah, he's really carrying that burden of staying optimistic. I really
Mhm.
felt for him because yeah, everyone is so hopeless there. He's really helping people by being optimistic for everybody.
Yeah, unlike Sheta's beloved Iodin, he seems like what a ruler is supposed to be down to their core.
Not my
So something.
beloved.
No, Sheeta's the Dilaf fangirl, not Iodin.
She is. Every time I read him, every time I'm like, oh, Sheta's gonna love this part.
I gotta do a little fan art of him.
Oh god. I wonder how many people share the title of Dilaf fangirl with you, Sheta.
I don't know. I guess we'll see after I do the fan art.
Oh, that's that one fan we have listening.
Right. And so Karada and a few of her men show up with some severely worn steel.
Yeah, that was scary.
And Lauren was supposed to be hers until Raoden showed up and took him. Karada just tells her men to destroy the building, chase out the people, and break some bones.
Mhm.
Raoden is able, he stops it and he tells her that he can get her inside Iodin's palace.
Yeah, he doesn't just stop her. He had the only thing that could possibly get her ear, and you knew he had been waiting for this to happen, which I thought was cool.
And she doesn't believe that, he can get her inside the castle because the guard has recently doubled due to a royal wedding that's coming up. Raoden tells her that he has a way, and Karada just agrees to come again at night. And if Raoden is lying, then she will break the bones of all of his followers.
Breaking bones is such a cruel punishment in this world. Dear God.
Yeah, it's not the same as on the
Yeah.
outside.
Hmm. You'd think just punching them a couple times would be sufficient to do the punishment they need,
Worse than death.
Well, anything's worse than death here.
Which would you think would be
Yeah.
worse? Broken bone or a dismembered limb?
Well, I can't say personally. Knock on wood. Oh, yeah.
They both hurt so bad. I think though that the dismembered limb, the severed nerves, would that agony would be so beyond horrible, I think. Where the broken
Did-
bone, that also hurts, but the nerves aren't as severely, just exposed. You know how it is when you cut yourself, I don't know. What do you think, Shida?
Well, do they get things like infections and stuff here? Well, like if you have
Out.
an injury.
I don't think so, because some of those like corpse people, you would have heard about them being moldy or infected and stuff.
It's
Plus, an
interesting.
infection, if their bodies are like dead, no blood or stuff going through, there's nothing really for an infection to grow.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
see. Okay, so there's the answer. Interesting.
See, the broken limb would be so horrible because it'd just be hanging there and it could cause you more damage, though, too. But I think the severed limb might be more painful, but I don't know. I've never had a limb severed, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, no.
But just what I know from cuts, that's already quite painful. Like for that, once your body realizes what happens, you know.
Uh, I don't like thinking about it.
No, I think when I see in a movie and somebody breaks a limb compared to get a limb severed off, it looks more painful when they get it severed off. So that will be my official evidence.
Yeah. Also, then you have the phantom limb feeling, you know?
Yeah. But is it more painful or is it just more horrifying? I don't know. You got me. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to learn which one's more painful later.
It's not just which is more painful, because which one will be worse to have the pain always going on?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it also depends how broken and where is the bone that's broken. Because if you broke your arm, you might be able to splint it up and kind of still function. But if it was just chopped off, you might just
But you'll always feel the
screaming.
pain of,
Yeah.
even if you splint it, you always feel the pain of that you felt when it broke.
Well, you know what? I'm sure we'll have some character tell us at some point too.
All I know is they scream more when they lose a limb in movies and things.
Yeah, but like I said, if you look down and your arm is gone, you're going to scream just from shock, you know?
At night, Raoden leads Karada to the well. Yeah, he points out that the river goes underneath the city and goes around Kay and past the palace. He also points out that they don't need to breathe, so that they can go down the well into the river and just ride that to the palace. And that's what they do.
That was a ballsy plan because so much could go wrong. Like
Yeah.
with hurting yourself. There is the part he says, luckily the rocks had been smoothed over, so they only got bruises, not cuts. And I'm like, yeah, that would be awful.
I think the part where they went underwater, where he pointed out, well, if there's a gate down there, then we'll be forever trapped underwater.
Yeah.
So once they get to the palace, Raoden, he asks Karada if she is there to kill Iodin. Because even though Iodin is a poor king, Raoden will not allow her to kill his father. But she tells him that she has no interest in Iodin. After hearing this, Raoden leads her to a secret passage into the palace. And Iodin is incredibly paranoid, and he had the secret passage installed after he became the king. So once they are inside the palace, Karada heads immediately to the barracks. She goes to a family room in the barracks and kneels down at a small mattress that has a sleeping child on it. After a quiet moment, she gets up and leaves.
Really should have seen that coming when they said she wanted to get out there so badly. It had to be something like that.
And she had snuck into the palace like 2 or 3 times before this.
I don't know why I didn't see this as the obvious thing in there.
I thought it was that.
Yeah, I think you did say that at one point.
Well, the book did have like Galadin saying, yeah, people think that she might be trying to kill the king. So you did have that red herring.
I never thought that because that was too obvious. And because I always figured that she wasn't going to be pure evil and her and Raoden were going to make some kind of deal. So I never believed it was the killing the king thing.
All right, so the two of them, they make their way back to the secret passage, but then they run into a guard. The guard and Karada struggle with each other, but the guard gains the advantage. Raoden then stuns both of them when he begins drawing the Aeon Sheo in the air, which stands for death. He tells the guard that if he moves at all in the next hour, then he will die. Raoden takes the guard's sword, and he and Karada leave.
A sword, wow.
Once
they
outside,
got lucky that he wasn't one of those to the death kind of loyal guards, but I doubt Iodin really instills that in any of his soldiers.
So once they are outside the palace, Karada notes that the guard that they had run into, that was her husband. They had been married and lived together for 12 years, yet he did not recognize her at all when they were face to face. That the child in the room was her daughter. She just wanted her daughter to know what had happened to her, so she had a necklace that she had managed to sneak past the priest a year ago when she was brought into the city. So now she left it with her daughter along with a note.
I have to wonder how she snuck that in and what pain she still has to feel from however she got that in or out of herself.
Oh, no. It seems like people don't really pay attention to, like, the people they bring in.
Well, let's hope so. That would
So
be
you
a
think-
horrible way to start off your time in Elantris, with either some stomach acid or the pain of passing something.
I'm like, yeah, when they got out of the river, Raoden was coughing up like almost like an entire lung full of water.
Yeah.
She was telling him try not to cough so hard because the last thing you want is to damage your throat and to always feel like you have like a sore throat.
I thought that part was really interesting that the writer even thought of that, because sometimes when you cough too much, feel like he has a cold for the rest of his life, she says. Does make me wonder if he has had that.
Well, someone had to suffer that.
Yeah,
At least once.
That would be terrible. Jesus.
And then Karada, she reveals that she knows who Raoden is because she had lived in the palace for years and had watched him since he was a child, so she was able to recognize him when she saw him in Elantris. And Raoden asked Karada to join him, but she thinks that he is like Aondin and just wants to lord over Elantris. Raoden denies this. He sees a city full of people resigned to the fate that the world views them as. Karada notes that this will happen as long as food is scarce and people are hungry. And Raoden reveals that he has been keeping seed corn from the new people that are coming in, that they can plant it and grow it, and that will do a much better job of feeding everyone than just taking scraps of food, people being shoved into the city.
Did either of us guess that? I can't remember.
I didn't guess it.
No, both of you thought.
Yeah.
When I asked you what he was keeping, both of you thought he was keeping like wine or meat or something to use as bargaining chips.
Because the second that they started, cleaning away that garden, I was like, fuck, they're taking seeds, aren't they? And I was so annoyed I didn't think of that earlier.
That they're going to farm.
Yeah. I thought it was fruit seeds earlier, but the corn seeds sound better.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that no one thought enough to think of that.
Well, they walk in, they're immediately jumped, right?
So
and then maybe even beaten to death.
Mm-hmm. But it's just so simple.
And
I think everyone's just too hungry. You don't have. They're not going to have the patience to grow corn. Corn takes like 90 days to grow.
Yeah. Also, the idea to clean that fucking dirt off. How quickly does that slime form on shit?
It will have to be a daily job, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it would be somewhat hopeless. I mean, we don't even know if it'll work yet.
Yeah. Can anything grow there? Without magic?
Yeah.
Is magic keeping things from growing? All those things. Know.
I'm curious to find out if all his hopeful plans, if they go somewhere and help this place, or if they just completely go nowhere and he has to give in to despair.
If anything, I just worry for him because he's trying to stay so optimistic. He's just gonna get shat on over and over again. Tested.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of story this is yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope not. I hope it goes well.
I'm sure it'll be somewhere in between. I think it's going to go well, and somebody's going to come ruin it for him. That's my guess.
Yep.
So Raoden walks up to a guard post at the gate, and he knocks on the window and asks them to let him back into Elantris. All right, the guards are flabbergasted that Raoden and Karada were outside of the city. Yep, and Raoden convinces them to open the gate and let him back in, including the last thing he said is, hey, we have the shield, and that's highly contagious.
Until he said that, I was like, dude, this is a terrible plan. But when he said that, I thought, oh, okay, that's fine.
And after they go inside, Karada notes that Raoden was acting like he wants to be in the city. And he says that if they are going to be confined to the city, then they might as well act like it is the grandest place in the world.
What does that remind me of? Just something where, like, your mindset changes the context of whatever you have to do, whatever your fate is and stuff. I think it's Harry Potter. The difference between being dragged to the stadium and then walking there with your head held high.
Yeah.
Raoden, he asked Karada not to tell anybody how they got out. Because if the guards begin to notice too many Elantrians showing up outside the city, then Iodin will come inside Elantris and destroy them.
Oh, that's a scary thought.
Raoden says that the only way for Elantris to progress is to become self-sufficient, not by going into the city in order to get food and support.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, they passed like a pie or something on a windowsill, and then she wanted to take it.
Yeah,
and I was like, just take it, But
so
then
it was worth the risk.
Also, I was like, if you can come and go like that, you can get so much stuff that could help you. like survive in there, you know? Like you could just get a nice pair of shoes or weapons and stuff like that. But when he said that, like, we don't want to do that. Like we
Also,
want
they
to
don't
just
have a good way to get back in, and that way of getting out is already so dangerous too.
yeah, no, there was all good reasons, but
Yep, and if they're trying to become self-sufficient, if you
yeah.
just start relying on all that stuff, then you just lose. Well, why grow corn? We can just go into the city and steal corn. Why make shoes when you just go into the city and steal shoes? They'll become less reliant on building things for themselves and more reliant on getting help from others.
And it'll be a problem if you'll be taking people's stuff. Shit. Shoes and things. Oh, I hope it goes well for
Karada,
them.
yep. So Karada brings Raoden back to her, building, and she shows him the children of Elantris.
Yeah.
Ada, you were right. I was wrong about the children being all happy and good.
I didn't think they would be happy. I thought someone would take care of them or keep them, you know.
And I thought they'd all been beaten and horribly, the worst fates ever.
I'm thankful. I was really scared to see where the children were.
Well, Sheta was even right because she predicted it was Karada that was taking the children.
That's what I'm saying. Sheta, you were right. Your optimism won through.
Yay!
So Sheta's right about the whole story. We're gonna get the
God,
Sarene
no.
will seduce
See?
Hrathen.
Yes!
No.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna keep some points here. Me right, Justin wrong.
All right. So, yeah, when Karada first came into Elantris, the children were huddled in the shadows and frightened of everything that passed. So she gathered them together and showed them love. And all of her followers that she has are people who had left children behind themselves. And they collect the food from the newcomers for the children. The children are happy. Somehow they are able to handle the hunger and pains easier than the adults. However, they eventually will fall. They'll just be going, scrape their knee one day, and then that's just it. That's too much. They become a hoid. And Karada has another room far away from the other children, which houses the children that had become hoid.
That was so sad. The dark part of it.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
no.
that the adults saying that it's a lot easier for them to suffer when they know they're taking care of children is really interesting because that's such a human thing. Because you're just standing there alone, you're not going to be able to put up with it. But if you're helping a child, which you have like a biological feeling to do, I thought that was a really interesting way to cheat this whole thing, and it's similar to what Raoden's doing with giving people purpose instead of giving them food. Because there is no food. But purpose will help you forget just how much you're suffering.
That's exactly what I was going to say too.
Yeah.
But I will also add like that a lot of the people that are with her taking care of the kids have their own kids, and so that it helps them extra.
Yeah,
to be like,
mm-hmm.
Well, there's a theme there somewhere about having a purpose, and that's what life is about.
In real life, purpose will do miracles for people in horrible situations.
Yeah. Purpose connected to whatever pains you too,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that too, yeah. So you're sacrificing and suffering for a reason instead of just pointlessly. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people who have tragedies or suffer from things go help other people who have having the same problems.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very true.
So Karada, she tells Raoden that she wants to join with him. She has seen that he is a good man, and then she also worries what will happen to the children once she becomes lost. Raoden returns to his followers, and they're elated that he has returned just unscathed. Raoden gives the sword they took from the guard to Seolin, and he informs everyone that Karada's gang is joining them. He wants to bring his followers to the palace sector so they can see the children and the fact that hunger can be defeated.
I like how hunger is defeated in the sense we were saying and not by filling your belly, So like when he looked in her eyes, right, and he sees just how tired and done she is. And I think it's only been a year for her and he's already starting to feel that and wondering what it's going to be like later. That was creepy.
And then the other thing too is she's talking about what will happen to the children when she is lost, because she's not talking about if she becomes lost or if, just like, oh no, this will happen.
Oh, she knows it's coming. Yeah.
like Galadin, or like the first or second chapter, he had mentioned that maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in this chapter that you guys wanted to discuss or that we missed? There was quite a bit that we went through.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, I really liked when he gave the sword to his guard.
Mhm.
Now he's got a really good guard, like a level up.
Yeah. It says it's not a specifically nice sword or anything, but in here, it's like the greatest sword ever.
Yeah, no rust, and it's a real sword.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, I imagine Karada looks like Charlize Theron from Fury Road.
What? That's not what I see at all.
Yeah, well, because everyone's bald in there. So
Charlize Theron isn't bald.
in Fury Road is what I said.
Not bald in Fury Road.
She's got a
short
shape.
hair.
She's got
you
shape.
think she's working it and looks stylish? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and she's badass. So
I imagined her looking as hideous as everyone else.
people aren't hideous. They just have
They have blotches on them. They're balding. They look all creepy. You can't tell how old they are. They look
only
like freaking.
Only the Hoid look like that.
I imagine they all look like freaking riffraff. Like they're not good looking at all.
That is not how I imagine. I imagine they look stylish priest type.
No, they're all greasy. They're covered in slime. They aren't beating any blood. Like
I think there's an Elantris fashion in there.
no, they look like a bunch of zombies for sure.
Well, the survivors will look like that.
Uh-huh.
They'll gear up with whatever they can find.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have tribes and gangs.
Oh goodness. Also, you wouldn't have that short hair. You'd still have long hair, right? But just all balding, right? Or am I remembering that wrong?
They lose the hair. It
they
falls
lose
out.
all of it eventually?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They are not like riffraff, Justin.
Well, they are at first. That's how the one cover looked, at least.
I mean, keep in mind, Karada ran into her husband, and he just did not recognize her at all.
Yeah. If she looked like Charlize Theron, you would have recognized her for sure.
Yeah, and no one recognizes Clark Kent as Superman. It's just
don't even get started on that. He does the whole thing.
Yeah, well,
he stands up 2 more inches. He changes the octave in his voice, holds his face completely differently. Totally different.
I think it's also dark and having hair and having no hair, and
well, the splotchiness too, the shit on their face, right? That does a lot too.
I just think that looks like cool makeup in my imagination.
Why do you think Elantris is such a fun place?
Because it's a dark version of, they used to be like gods. So I think.
God.
I
imagine. You think it's like a cool goth nightclub? Is that it?
Yeah, I do.
No. It looks like a modern day.
They're leper zombies.
Yeah, leper zombies. There you go. Yeah.
And that sounds pretty cool.
No, it does not. Have you ever seen a leper, Sheta?
No, not well. I'll make the art, then you'll see.
Oh God, I don't want to see that.
I can imagine. No one. It has to look cool.
No, it doesn't.
It's a magical curse. It looks cool. Also, we don't know what this guard. This guard probably thinks his wife is dead, right? So he wouldn't even think that was possible.
You are weird, Sheta.
Or at least Theron is my casting.
Okay. I won't argue with your casting, but I doubt you'll want to get that uglied up. Joe, you said that that the writer was a missionary, right? Back in the day. Do you know where he went? Was it somewhere real bad?
South Korea.
South Korea, okay. I have no idea what the worst parts of South Korea are like, especially back then. But the way he talks about everyone starving and the way he talks about the resilience of children and stuff really makes me feel like he's seen some stuff in his life that has influenced him about the darkest areas in the world and trying to bring some hope and light to them. So I'm curious what of his real world experiences are written into this.
That I could not say.
Yeah. Well, he's either knowledgeable on the subject or has talked to people who are knowledgeable on the subject, I think. because it's interesting that children are like that. Like hardship, because they don't know it's not supposed to be so horrible. It doesn't affect them the same way it does grown-ups on hopelessness and stuff. Like if you watch kids who are neglected or are starving and stuff, like they have a different look in their face than grown-ups do.
There's a lot of children's books with like that.
Yeah, that's
like
true. Yeah.
Little Princess and things like that, where they still play and they still they don't have the heaviness of adults.
Yeah.
And I think it would be so uplifting to be around kids in that place.
Yeah.
To just have them kind of laugh and play and not
just be
be
stupid
like,
and yeah.
Yeah. I would just be like, just so thankful to have something that's not so depressing.
Yeah. No, a kid would go a long way. But I like, because I suspected they had something that you wouldn't expect in there when she kills anyone who tries to come into her area, that they're hiding something. I'm glad to see it's such a nice, happy thing they're hiding in there.
Yep, and both of you were right last week with your predictions for the rest of the book. You both said that, oh yeah, he'll join with Karada's group and form an alliance.
Sure.
I,
I didn't think it would happen so quickly, though.
Yeah. I wonder what they're gonna do. I think they're just gonna create a flourishing community in Elantris.
I think they're gonna try. But you got two other gangs, one of which is crazy, and the other of which are just evil, if I'm remembering correctly, right?
Well, there's gonna be some fighting and some more.
But you can't afford to fight a war here. The damage is too much,
It might not be a fighting war. It might be more diplomatic then.
Yeah, but you can't diplomat with a bunch of psychotic raiders, and
if
a
you
bunch
can
of
give them food,
skeletons.
Maybe.
Yes. Well, not the raiders, but maybe the people following the crazy guy.
Yeah. Like, oh, you tired of eating books?
Yeah, they don't need food. They got their books.
They ate all the leather off there. They're out of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's Sheor's men. Sheor's gang is just the one where they're a lot more like wild and crazy. And then the other one was Aondin. Teon was his, the sculptor guy who called himself the Baron of Elantris.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that that Raoden will be able to use diplomacy with, Aondin's people, but not with Sheor's?
Yeah, that's his forte. I think he knows how to speak to people's things they care about,
Well, I just looked something up. They're the ones that are eating the books, right? Or was it the other guys?
It was Aondin, because they're based in the library.
Is that the guy, the sculptor guy, or is that the other guy?
Yep.
Yes. Yep,
so I just looked up. If leather is ingested, it may cause digestive discomfort, blockages in the gastrointestinal tract. Your body is not equipped to break down or digest, and it can lead to abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting. And so I'm trying to imagine the people who did that and how they are feeling now with how nothing goes away for them. I don't know if those people are going to be as reasonable as you'd expect just based on that.
I don't think it was leather.
Yeah, it was book leather, wasn't it? Like on the binding and stuff?
Sheepskins. It was something else. But maybe I'm thinking of a different thing.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's like one of the last pains I would want to constantly have is abdominal blockage. And whatever pain as your body tries to pass that undigested crap out of you.
One thing I thought of is, since they, people in there, they eat food, they must digest it in some way, but also their bodies are kind of dead because there's no heartbeats and stuff. Do they still poop?
What do you think the slime is?
Oh, God.
I imagine the sludge is like how it is in fish tanks.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't think it's shit, but that kind of stuff, yeah.
Because this covers everything, even like the tall buildings, and I doubt people are just flinging their poop.
I think the slime is supernatural.
I don't know. What do you think the heel do all day? The hoeed, I mean.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I think I feel like that when they eat, it's just to like stop the hunger feeling for a second, and then they'll just get hungry immediately. But I don't think it even stops it ever.
Well, he still coughs, so they have those reactions, but they don't breathe. Have we seen anyone throw up? That would answer that.
No.
Do they still have blood in them though, right? Like when they get cut and smashed and stuff, or I don't remember.
It's not like they got drained out or anything, so it's still
Well,
in
that's
there.
what I'm saying. So they still have their fluids and stuff. So I would assume they still have their digestive stuff and digest and shit stuff out. But God, imagine having dysentery or something in there. God.
We already said they don't get diseases.
That is true. That is true. So imagine trying to pass out a bunch of book leather that you gobbled up as that works its way through your intestines and out the back.
I still believe it's book leather.
No, it said leathers. It said it earlier. I remember. Because it was like almost like meat, you know.
Look up the passage, because I think it was like vellum. Vellum is not leather.
What's vellum?
It's it's like paper, but I think it's made from sheep intestines and stuff like that. So it's not like thick ass leather.
You can't. I doubt you can digest that either.
Vellum, they boiled it and they.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all.
Okay. One fan out there, send us the answer to that.
Yep, it's vellum.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know the effects of eating vellum.
Well, it's much thinner than leather.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it was. Yep, they were eating vellum.
How do you spell that?
Vellum.
Yeah, eating vellum is going to lead to almost the same exact problems. I'm reading it right now. So it's not much better, Sheta. And now the big questions have been answered. For the record, too, I looked it up, and the pain from losing a limb is more physically severe than from breaking a limb. But the danger of breaking a limb is that it can cause more damage because it can do other stuff in there.
Yeah. You really shouldn't be moving around with a broken limb.
Mm-hmm.
Broken bones, I mean.
So if you tie it up, like you said, you could limit the damage it could do, you know?
Yeah.
But the severed limb, according to what I'm reading, physically is more painful because of the nerves specifically.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we'll see when that happens to Raoden and he breaks one limb and gets the other severed.
Ugh.
And then one last thing I'll go over before we go into the wrap-up stuff is just, some stuff that Brandon Sanderson was talking about in this chapter with Raoden, because he said that, this chapter was done to really show off the core of Raoden's character, which is to let him be the hero.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he says that, Raoden, he's not as rounded as some other characters like Hrathen. He doesn't have the flaws or internal battles of some of the more complex characters. But he doesn't feel that makes Raoden a worse character.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Raoden does the right thing in almost every turn. His internal struggles only serve to make him more noble. You can't get away with something like that in fiction. But by including him in a book with Hrathen and Sarene, each of them have their own internal problems. He avoids making the characters of the book feel too shallow, and that a lot of Raoden's struggles and problems is more trying to be a leader and always having to hold himself up and deal with that actual physical plane like what we saw.
I don't agree with the idea that you can't have people that aren't severely flawed, because in real life there are people who are just very noble and good.
Yep.
The only time I have a problem with it is when the narrative works around the person to make sure that everything they do goes perfectly no matter what. That's the only problem I have. But a guy like this, he's actually very interesting to me because you see so few characters like that in well-written fiction, because everyone's got to be so flawed and interesting all the time, which can get so boring so quickly.
And actually, your point, Brandon Sanders did say that too. It's however, I feel there are really people like him in the world. I've known a few of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. To pretend there's not is just too nihilistic,
Yeah, there's real people, real heroes.
I just want to point out that having Raoden be a character who, like you were saying, so often in all sorts of stories, just have everyone always has a whole bunch of problems, which is still interesting to read, but it is fresh to get a character that's more.
Yeah. It depends. It's all how it's written, how believable it is.
All right.
So I think it's most interesting when you have books with people with, characters like Hrathen, who clearly has a lot of flaws and stuff. And, stuff like that. When you have somebody to be the other side of that who is, they're just trying to be a good, noble person as much as possible, and they're quite good at it. it really, really contrasts the difference between the two. Because while Raoden's going into the city and looking at the world and thinking how to fix it and make it better, you know, you have Hrathen going in and seeing all these flaws in everything and just justifying it in every turn that he can, you know? That makes them so different from each other.
Yeah, that makes me think of, like, you know, how I feel with, like, comic book villains and stuff, where, you know, having every single villain just be a straight up just pure evil character gets kind of boring.
Mhm.
On the opposite side, if you have every single character has to be like a shade of gray, like, yep, there's good and bad and stuff, to me that gets boring kind of too. I like having a mix, having some
Yeah.
pure just evil villains
Mhm.
just makes the more gray shaded characters much more interesting,
Mhm.
and vice versa. Having those ones that are a bit of gray and that just makes the just pure evil characters much more interesting.
And just like there's, you know, actual good people in the world, there are legit evil people in the world who do not, whoever taught everyone in modern writing that the old quote of every villain is the hero of their own story. I'm like, that's not fucking true in real life. There are some people who are like, I know I'm the villain. I don't care, you know? Like there are some bad people out there, and some of the most interesting villains are just straight up pure evil with like no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Yeah. I know I'm the villain and I like it.
Yeah. Desaad, he knows what he is and he loves it. Is my favorite one. But yeah, I don't really want to see the redeeming qualities of Darkseid that much. He's much more interesting if he has 0.
What? He's a loving father.
No, he's not.
He's a bad father, you know.
He wants to eradicate the concept of love from existence and replace it with only Darkseid. Same. I don't really want to know the redeeming characteristics of the devil that much. Like,
But no, it depends, because sometimes you're like, he's a fallen angel, you know?
yeah, you can go that route, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't mean the character of Lucifer. I mean the devil, like the goateed, horned devil, you know.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm just
Lucifer is interesting, but what's that?
I'm just the devil. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I'm getting really sick of in comic book movie adaptations, when everyone needs to be so layered for God knows what reason.
Because their heroes are not.
Are not layered?
Yeah.
That's because
Maybe.
that's because the writers of this comic book movies are not allowed to read the source material, so they don't know what the villains are.
That is how it is.
And that's how you wind up with a Thunderbolts movie with 0 members of the Thunderbolts in the movie.
Yeah. For Sheta, we just watched Deadpool 1, and the villain in that movie had 0 redeeming features whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I thought that worked for that plot quite well.
So now back to this. So all right, I'll go to, just some questions and predictions. Now that you've met more people in here, and Sarene will be going, to the parties and stuff with them. I know I asked you last week if she was going to have any romance stuff with any new people, but now that you've met them, will any romance blossom between Sarene and any of these guys?
No.
Yeah, well, I think we could easily rule out Lukol and
you think you can easily
Kane.
rule out something Sheta would think?
Well,
See.
Lukol's her cousin and recently married.
Oh, you think that's going to stop her?
Well, I will say I did think Lukol and her would have made a good couple, because they're not technically cousins, so. And, but, he's married. So unless something happens to the wife, I thought they would be good.
Think of the other one. Shuden is still single. I think Royal, he might be a widower. Not 100% sure on that.
They did have some chemistry when he was teaching her about the finer things and dealing with people.
So do you think that she's going to wind up marrying Royal?
She cannot marry again, but she might have an affair.
Oh, God.
Oh, yep, they're going to go to a party. She's going to think, I'm having
Stop.
A surprisingly pleasant time. Like,
oh,
I, too, since my wife passed away, have not gone out and had this much fun. You are wise with your years.
Every single week, I'm just asking these loaded questions just to feed into this.
Sheta, I hate you. I just hate you so much.
I think actually all those old men are gonna fall in love with Sarene when they take her to the ball and stuff.
Yeah, but that's one way, right?
Well, I think she might like a couple of them.
I think she's too honorable to break the contract when her kingdom is benefiting from her continuing it. That's my personal belief on all this romance stuff.
Justin, they're
Yeah.
planning on tearing down the system. If they do that and get rid of Raoden as king, then that thing doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah,
until
exactly. They'll just have
then.
another reason to fight hard to bring this down, Justin.
Right. After that, Sheta, that's when you can have your Sarene Dilaf ship finally happen.
Sarene Dilaf.
No, you're not doing that one?
I don't like that one.
No. Dilaf has to be saved for Sheta.
Yeah. Dilaf loves God only. That's what makes him so unobtainable, Justin.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
You don't understand the Dilaf love.
Uh-huh. You need that D, huh?
Only if it's Dilaf's team.
Yeah.
All right, enough. Why did you make me say that?
Yeah, that was my fault.
You set me up for that. I was gonna say something about. Oh yeah, I'm a strong Gerard Mormont and Daenerys shipper, so
Oh, God,
that's
no.
why these older gentlemen are, on the table. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Well, it depends. Book Jorah and Daenerys is just creepy as shit.
No, she's talking about the book one.
Because the show, they actually portray him as a lot more charming and a lot less creepy. But the book, it's just like, oh, God, no.
She's doing the book one played by the show actor. That's how it is in her head.
I thought that the show one was too handsome. I was like, of course I would go for that. They did a bad adaptation.
Sheta, you got the show Funko. You cannot hide that.
Also, his hair is dark and he's super hairy. That's why he's the bear. He wasn't hairy at all, and he's super blonde in the show. So that was just incorrect for me, even though I do love that actor. Yeah.
Also, the show, since Daenerys is like 3 years older, it's a lot less creepy.
Yeah, it's still creepy.
Yeah.
You don't understand that the creepiness is part of the attraction.
But hey, all right. But now, what about? Are you a Peter Baelish and Sansa shipper?
Sheta, you can plead the fifth on that. You don't have to answer.
I know me. You know my answer.
All right. Next question. We'll just move right on.
Sheta, I'm sorry. Those are one of the ones that when somebody makes a YouTube takedown video of how you had all these controversies, that's the quote they'll pick out suddenly on you. And it'll be all dark and cryptic.
All right. So we heard about the widow's trial, and so what do you think a widow's trial is?
I couldn't guess. You got anything?
I wonder. I think I don't know why, but I imagined a marathon or something.
I thought you might have to defend that you'd be true to them and love them or something. But with how everyone's like, we don't expect you to do that, I doubt that it would lose your marriage if you fail it or something. But that would be my only guess.
There's also something where they had mentioned that the peasants and stuff really liked it. Some of the noblemen were like, I don't like, the peasants wanting the men to die and being happy about it or something like that.
Oh, maybe it's a no, I got nothing.
Wait, what they did? The nobles didn't like it, but the peasants do like it. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so it's got to be a show of some kind, like something exciting.
Let me find the book.
Yeah, I remember something about that.
Justin, if it's a show, it'll be like, no, I won't say.
Wait, what? You can't do that to our one viewer, Sheta.
Well, I'll wait for the quote, then I'll say what I'm thinking.
All right, so Ahan was talking about it. It's just one of the traditions that Raoden decided to hold over from the old days. I never liked the custom myself. It seems to me we shouldn't encourage the people to look forward to our deaths. It doesn't bode well for an aristocrat's popularity to be at its greatest just after he dies.
Okay, so I think it has to do with giving away money then or giving away his riches or something like that.
So at the widow's trial, will Sarene do it? Do one?
Yes, 100%. That's a Chekhov's gun if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, for sure.
And what do you think she will do for it?
Honestly, I think it's probably as simple as she just goes out and talks about how much She loved the person she was with. I don't think that it's anything where she's got to gain or give anything just because then I think she would be required by law to do it. So that's my guess.
I think she might throw a feast in honor of her husband.
That's
and
a
then
good
she'll
one.
talk about him and use it as an opportunity to remind everyone how of the people he was and how she's going to be like that. And then she's going to pretend that she didn't mean to say something because she was stupid.
That's very specific.
Yeah, she's going to be like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. Like, if the king's like, why'd you say that? You're going to incite a rebellion. And she's like, I just thought he was a nice guy. I just wanted to say that. Like, yep.
That is a very specific scenario.
Okay. Well, this is just me going off of the style of the book so far.
Yeah.
Right. And now will Sarene's plan to, try to raise profits by giving people their own land to, look over, will that work?
Oh, you know what? She might even announce that at the thing. At the feast that I know that I'm now saying is happening.
I think that it's going to show promise initially, but then Hrathen or Dilaf or one of the nobles or somebody is going to come in and ruin the entire thing when they see how it's... I mean, people working for themselves and making money does not help them become more religious, so it does not help Hrathen's plan. So I think that's going to put him at odds, and somebody is going to fuck all that good up for him.
But he does want to push that the king's reign is like gonna be over soon, so maybe he might be like, perhaps I shall team up with her and make this big.
I think people turn to religion more when they're like not happy,
Destitute.
To find hope and happiness. I don't know, but I guess they're already religious, just with the wrong religion. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work long term.
Will Raoden find out about these secret meetings?
100% yes, because that would be the most interesting thing to throw a wrench in everything.
Now, how does he find out? Does he just hear about it? Is there going to be a traitor in the group?
Oh, come on. We don't trust that little guy. He's going to be the traitor for sure. Unless there's a red herring traitor, which I doubt.
Edon?
Yeah, I'm not good with the names, but I think that was the guy. The guy with the crack in his land.
Yep.
Because I think that Hrathen's going to do something that's going to get him some money, because he's so desperate. And it's going to get him to turn on him. Because I don't think that they're as wary of him as they should be, personally. I don't think they're as wary of anything as they should be. I've been shocked when they just have discussions out in the hall and open discussions everywhere, because usually there'd be spies around, but maybe this king isn't, that politically clever to have that kind of stuff around.
But he is suspicious or paranoid. Yeah. He's paranoid.
Yeah, but they were able to sneak in through his room and nobody was able to stop him except one random guard. So I don't think he's as paranoid as he should be,
Oh yeah, no, for sure. When they all have servants and stuff, still not even worried about their positions,
It doesn't really seem like anyone actually respects him as the king, nobody's really that afraid of him,
I think that her cousin's wife is going to betray the
Whoa! Why?
We don't know anything about her.
So why do you think that?
So that they'll have to get a divorce and then Sarene will...
I thought... Oh, God, no. I thought you had a real thing there.
I'm sorry.
Do you just want Sarene to get with everyone?
She's the only girl, so she's getting shipped with everybody.
No, there was another girl. She just betrayed them and got divorced.
Yeah. It's a harem.
Right? It's a harem now. This isn't Dracula, Sheta.
Well, and there too. There's men of all ages.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So Justin said that the king will find out about the meetings. What will he do then?
That I don't know. How would he react? He wouldn't like it, that's for sure.
Well,
would he arrest them? Execute them? Just tell him, hey, don't do that.
He can't be bothered.
He can't be bothered.
He seems like, he can't be bothered to do certain things. Well, the question is, will it be profitable to him?
Well, I don't really know the range of his kingly power, and I barely know him at all, so I really can't predict how he'll react. Actually, he'll probably give everyone the frickin' the Elantris curse, you know?
You can't give that away.
I'm still convinced that him or somebody gave it to Raoden.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I
Like
think
it's
somebody knows how to trigger it and did something.
then why isn't he more like using it more?
Well, we don't know. What other enemies does he have in his mind right now? I mean, his
Well,
own
the
best
door.
friend is plotting to overthrow him. He doesn't even know. Or his old friend, you know?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem that smart to me, personally.
Then why would he have that power?
I think as king, he knows the something that other people don't know.
Hmm.
That's just my theory. I have absolutely zero evidence of that whatsoever. But like they were saying in the meeting, it's a little convenient that that's when it happened, you know?
Mm.
And maybe they're hoping whoever did this, that maybe they already know about these meetings, you know? And
I wonder.
hoping it would end
I wonder if there's an element we're not aware of yet.
for sure.
Like,
There has to be.
like the king has like a worm tongue type guy behind him.
Yeah, could be that. They said he changed, you know?
Yeah, someone who's like making all these moves because he's not reacting like someone who like just did that. Just cursed his son.
Oh, we don't know that he did, you know?
Well, that's why I'm saying that theory. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Could go either way. I
Yeah.
think there's something up with him because we've learned so little about him. All we've learned about him is he's kind of a douchebag or a dick, you know? Yeah, we'll see.
Right, and then so Sarene's going to be looking around the palace for any possible clues that Raoden, for Raoden's murder. And also you have Ash that's going into Elantris, scoping it out so she can find out stuff about Hrathen. Will Sarene find out that Raoden is still alive and in Elantris?
Oh, I hope so. I really hope so.
I
That
don't
would.
think she's going to find out through the orb, though, because he's not using his name in there, so it would have no way to know.
Yeah, I think it would be funner to keep it a secret, like they don't know each other and stuff. But I think it would also be kind of sweet if they were passing letters back and forth or something.
Where are you going to get letters in and out of Elantris?
It'd be
Through
through the
the
orb, right?
yeah.
Not
Yeah,
letters, messages. Yeah.
that makes sense, yeah. With Hrathen, will Dilaf find out about, Hrathen keeping like a Seon and stuff and using that to communicate with Wern? And if Dilaf finds out, how would he react since he's a lot more fanatical?
I
Hmm.
don't think he's going to find out. But if he did, I do think he might make his own splinter sect of this religion that's really dangerous here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he found out, he's kind of subservient too, because he knew that the first priest he was working for wasn't a good one,
Oh, that's
and
true, yeah.
he still followed him, and like
Mhm.
so. Unless Warren himself comes down and is like, take out Hrathen, like he's not gonna do anything.
And what is the proposal that Hrathen has given to Telri, since we still haven't learned what that is?
Ellery was the birthmark one, right? The other, like the
Yes.
really rich guy, like third
Yep.
richest, right?
Yes.
Yep.
To be
I
king,
think,
right?
yeah, I think so
Gotta
too. That when all this is over, he'll get to be king.
if he can whip up enough allies and nobility in line.
So, follow up: will Telri become king? Then I believe that's what the thing is.
No, I think they're going to have to sweep over their lands and attack with the other army, you know? So I think everything's going to go south before any of that happens. I don't think it's going to be a smooth transfer of power.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I have a feeling Telri's gonna be killed.
Probably.
I don't think he'll survive.
Or maybe he does. Maybe he's a little seed for something even scarier. Because, the king is not that scary seeming. Maybe this is the guy we're setting up to be, a bigger threat later on.
Yeah, but do you think his superficial stuff is just superficial, like just to trick you?
What superficial stuff?
But he spends all his money on like stuff and clothes
That's
and
the scariest kind of king you could possibly have, Or
hmm,
maybe they just offered him a lot of money.
nah. What's more money than being king?
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have a good theory for any of that. Something scary. That's my theory. Something that fucks up everyone's plans. That's what I believe.
You know, he just might be king and be like, all right, all these people are now slaves and that's legal now, you know. Yeah, that might be how he's scary.
Yeah, but do
Because
they have slavery in that other land? I forget.
No, they don't.
Yeah, so I don't think that would be it.
Because she had mentioned that, with how everything is going in the kingdom right now, it's like leading to slavery. And even Fjordell doesn't no longer use the serfdom.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, he might still do it if he's king.
All right, so let's go on to Raoden's, questions with his chapter. So will he start learning more about Aondor, and will translating this journal work and be able to help, figure out what's going on, how to use the magic, all jazz?
Yeah.
I think yeah.
Yeah.
At least a little bit. Maybe not enough to be that helpful, but enough to have a bit of it.
I think it will tell or reveal a secret or a thing that will unlock it, at least. That they don't have yet, but they will get.
Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, what's the point of putting it in?
Yeah.
Unless it's just to give him more hopelessness and despair, like I'm theorizing.
That'll be too sad.
Hey, you never know. Also, there's a way you can do that where it's not too sad. It's, just facts of life kind of way.
Yeah, like it'll be an interesting hurdle for a hero to have to.
Oh, not a hurdle. Everything goes wrong. And he's like, damnable books. They're all full of nothing. That kind of scene.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but that's what I always theorize.
All right. Well, his plan to, grow the corn, clean up the buildings, build stuff, will that bear fruit?
It'll bear corn. Just kidding. Sorry.
Don't be. That was solid.
I think it will. I think everything he's done so far has been working. Like all the people he's hyped up, and you know what? I think Elantris runs on belief, just like fairies. So if you believe in life, you will, and if you believe in magic, it'll come back to you.
That's quite a leap of logic. I think that it's going to show a lot of promise and be like, yeah, it would obviously work and everything's going to be a lot better until one or two of those other gangs decide no and just loot and destroy everything because they're too short-sighted and everyone suffers horribly. And then maybe something from the book will help him something. That's my official theory.
So Raoden's gotten one gang to join him.
Mm-hmm.
The other two, will he get them to join him as well? Will he get one of them? Will he always be at odds with both the other gangs and then they just wind up in like a war?
He'll definitely have to kill that one guy who thinks he's now the Baron of Elantris.
Yeah, but if it's true what they thought about him, that he walked in and just said, no, I have to be crazy, maybe they can get him to go the other direction if things seem more promising.
Yeah, but
we haven't met Shayor yet, so you don't even know exactly what he's like.
He's going to be a psychopath. I'm telling you.
No, I feel like he's the one that we're going to end up being friends with. Because I think
eat their people for no reason when they enter.
Yeah, but
they're not even recruiting, which is just
the way
crazy.
of life. It's that the strong will. You need to be strong to survive and stuff.
Yeah, but you could just take their stuff. You don't got to smash them down into a puddle.
Well, that's just for your own sanity, instead of like
for your own sanity.
Purpose.
What do you mean?
Yeah, instead of finding a purpose, he's just going the opposite. You gotta,
the kind of personalities that do that are the worst kinds out here on the other side of the wall too.
Yeah, but they survive. Like
exactly by being horrible. So I think when Raoden starts growing stuff and building a society, those are the types who just come in and, oh, there's something, let's take it, instead of thinking long term.
Because maybe they just lost hope. Maybe Raoden will give them hope again. And they'll think I was wrong to be so short-sighted.
It could be. I think that you can give into your pain and become, what are they called? The Shod, right?
Hoed.
Or you can give into resentment and hate and become monsters. That's my theory. And just be a monster fueled by pain and pain for others.
So they're Sith.
Maybe a less effective version of Sith.
All right. So Raoden, they they'd gone to the palace. She had left that stuff for her kid and seeing her husband. But that note left for her kid, will that have any repercussions? Will they find, will like stuff be like, wait, my wife's still alive or my mom's still alive? And will they try to go into Elantris to get her?
I don't think they'll try to go in, but I think there's a good chance Sarene learns about that.
Yeah, maybe she'll be friends with the little girl. My mommy's still alive.
Well, I think it's more like she'd learn through the husband if the kid tells him, especially if she's searching through the palace for clues and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's how a quest would be.
Yeah, maybe there's a little marker indicating there's something in here.
There's a crying child. You go comfort her.
No, I thought of like in Silent Hill when you just pick up random shit that winds up being useful later.
Well, if she reads the letter, the actual letter, that would be something too.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a good chance it gets back to her and that opens a few questions, but I doubt it leads anywhere too crazy or big.
All right. So Hrathen and Raoden have now joined forces. Will there be a romance between those two?
Well, Sheta?
Well, we don't know what she looks like, except for she looks like Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
So I think that he might be, I don't know. I was wondering about that too. Like, is there anything that can be even remotely romantic in Elantris? Yeah. Like,
dude, I think that is the last thing on anyone's mind in here.
That's what I mean. But what
if you've got all that pain, all that suffering, and you're just trying to keep hopeful, I highly doubt that love or romance is anywhere on the horizon.
Yeah, but what's one of the best things in life, though? If you have a romance, that's so hopeful.
But I'm going to say, if I had a romance going and I constantly felt like I just stubbed my toe, that would really throw a brick in it. If I had that plus scrapes and bruises, massive hunger. I mean, you've got your hierarchy of needs, Hunger's right down there at the bottom of it. Love is not. You need like shelter, hunger, or food, security. Love is pretty far up on that hierarchy of needs, So I just don't believe anyone's like, oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, such a nice soul. All that stuff.
Okay, well, not love, but do they have sex in Elantris?
No, don't risk it. Don't risk it. If something goes wrong with that, oh God, no.
Well, you might get rid of one pain at least.
No.
I just wonder.
You're just gonna accidentally hurt yourself or somebody else.
Well, I think for me, I'm like, if that was a thing, then it would be a thing in there already. They don't just beat people up. They would totally rape them and do,
That's what I thought happened to all the kids, so I'm glad to hear otherwise.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I don't think that's a thing. Plus, the most important thing is that Karada is married, so no, just kidding.
Well, so's Raoden.
That's true.
I think that in a world like this, people would grab whatever pleasures they could. If that was a thing, we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh wait, their blood doesn't flow, so just saying.
That's true.
Or their hearts don't beat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
And then we've also had...
I don't know what works and what doesn't.
But Justin, you're saying there's no possible way that, Raoden and Karada could be working together, spending a lot of time with each other, trying to, figure stuff out in the city, and then just something blossoms?
I don't, with their personalities of what little I know, I don't think so. I think, especially because she does have a husband and a child out there, I doubt she seems so ready to just be done. Like I can't even imagine how much pain she is in every single second,
I would fall in love with him in a second. In a hopeless like that, to have someone so optimistic, I would totally fall.
But if you were in constant, complete pain so bad you just wanted to just turn into a screaming nothing.
You don't understand the comfort of a strong man's arms, Justin. Like, that is so, like, it's just the best thing when you're feeling so desperate and hopeless. So I think that it could happen. Yeah. And especially with him trying so hard to get all this stuff going, I think she would fall for him for sure.
I think in a different situation, probably, but I just don't think so in here.
But once things get a little better, though, there's food, there's hope for the children.
Don't stub your toe and then try to think about love or romance while that's happening. That's what I'm saying.
You really can't?
No, go immediately, do it right now, and then try to think of it at the same time. Your brain can't juggle that many stimuli and feelings at once, you know? It's hard enough just to pretend to be smiling, to pretend to be hopeful, you know?
I just disagree with, like, I
Yeah.
think that once things start to be normalized, you know, like when you're sick, you kind of get used to being sick.
Oh
And
God. Not when you
pain.
get really sick though, you know?
So,
When you get really sick, you're just miserable no matter what. You don't get used to it, you know?
but you do, it becomes normalized.
Yeah. If you say so. I've had times where I'm sick when I'm like, I think I need to die. It's so bad, you know? So I don't know.
Well, I'm still for her falling for Raoden.
Sickness is a good comparison for trying to get into their mindset, though.
All right, and then we've had a couple chapters now with Raoden just thinking about the pain, the hunger, and stuff that he's going through.
Mhm.
Will he become a Hoid?
No. If anyone's going to make it those 2 years, it'd be him.
Yeah, not with what we learned from his personality.
He's too stoic, you know, and too willing to sacrifice for others, too. Like, as long as it's useful for him to keep being human, I think he'll do it. Unless, of course, a building falls on him or he gets all his limbs and head chopped off or, you know, stuff like that. We'll see.
And then we have, so far in the story, there really seems to be like two, for the most part, separate story arcs. You have the stuff happening in the city, the stuff happening outside the city.
Mm-hmm.
Will they connect at some point, and in what way do you think it would? If you think so.
Once the big war breaks out, then I think it will become one story.
Well, Hrathen is planning hatred of the Elantrans. Dilaf's helping. He's already said that the king, if he knew that they posed a threat, that they would go in there. And then they're building something inside. I think if people start to take notice that they're building something inside, I think hate for them is going to grow. I think that's how the two parts will kind of merge together. Because those are kind of on each side of the wall what's building, you know. That would make them even notice each other, you know.
Right, so I think that'll be it for all the questions, predictions, stuff like that. But now we'll just let you know next week for chapters. So next week we'll be doing 4 chapters, chapters 14, 15, 16, 17.
Oh, those 4.
Chapters 14 through 17. All right, and now everyone's favorite part of any podcast, the plugs.
We got to do quotes first.
You're right. I
Yeah.
have all the quotes and the characters I'd forgotten about. Sorry,
think that's people's actual favorite parts of a podcast.
All right. So first, we'll do your favorite character of these chapters.
Hrathen. I like him more and more every time I read him. I don't think anyone else will be my favorite. Now that I learned that he's so insanely logical too, makes him really interesting.
Just have that Vulcan mindset.
He's not quite that logical, but he was.
He's like I said, he's more like hall monitor logic, or like
He's not like a hall monitor.
He likes the rules.
He likes order and stability. I think that's really interesting about him. Because most religious characters I see in fiction, they're not order and logic minded, you know, and drawn to that aspect of it, which is in religion, you know. They're usually all exultant and, you know, like that. So I find that very interesting about him, and I think he's legit cool. I'm just saying.
I liked Raoden a lot in this chapter because we got to see what a heroic good guy he was, like he is. And the trying to stay optimistic for everybody else is good, and that he actually has all these plans, like growing corn and translating aeons.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just talked to. I was kind of worried about that, like, oh, chin up and try to look, on the positive side. Like I hate it when people just say that and they have no plan, but he does, so that made me believe in him more.
And he never lied to his followers, too. When the guy keeps asking about the cure to filling his belly if he'll get food, he never said, food will come, you know?
Yeah.
That's good guy stuff there.
Yeah, I'm glad he's not a bad guy like that. Just like, sure, friend, like, you won't be hungry. Like,
yeah.
He never does that.
And then my favorite for these chapters, I probably go with Karada.
Yeah, that's good.
So her coming in, team up with Raoden, hold her into the palace to see her daughter and stuff like that. Just overall pretty cool.
Yeah, she came off as a lot more reasonable than I expected. I thought it'd be chapters and chapters of trying to gain her trust.
All right, so yep. So favorite quotes. Either of you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll let you guys go first then.
I just like the quote about Raoden that here in Atlantis he found himself reacting to the air of despair with defiant optimism.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's a cool one.
Justin?
Mine was what Hrathen says about Dilaf, that there are two sides to every argument, the logical and the passionate. We have to make our attack from both directions if we are to be victorious. That is the most logical way to actually try to convert as many people as possible, I think. And I thought it was really interesting that he did not know the thing that Dilaf was doing was so useful until he watched it in action.
Mine will be with Karada talking to Raoden. Karada hesitated because I want to join with you. I once served your father despite what I thought of him. Now I will serve his son because of what I think of him.
Mm-hmm.
Will you accept my loyalty?
That was a good one too.
Yep.
All your quotes pumping up Raoden.
Yep, just the stuff with just like before where Raoden would say that, he didn't want people to know he's the prince because he wants people to follow him because they believe in him. And that's exactly what's going on there with Karada.
Oh, yep, that's true.
All right. Anything else you guys wanted to say about overall these chapters before I go into the plugs?
I think we covered everything I had.
Yeah, just interesting to see things get started about how it's going to be now that we know a good amount about the world and the characters.
All right, so with the plugs, we'll go, overall with the show. We have a Twitter that don't know how much will actually be used, but that's Cosmere Crone at Cosmere Crone, CosmereChron. There's also going to be a YouTube page, which will mostly just be having these episodes on there. But hey, you can go into the episodes, leave comments if you want. Also, if you want to get in contact with us, I forgot to bring it up the last few times, but there is also an email, cosmerechronicles@gmail.com. If you have any comments or anything you want to say, just feel free to send an email. I'll be the one checking it, so that way you don't have to worry about Justin or Sheta getting spoiled if you bring up stuff
Or
later in the
offended by how much you criticize one of us.
Oh, no, I will share. I will share that. But yeah, if you want to bring something up, if you have any suggestions for, oh, hey, you should do this, and like when you get to this part of the books or anything, throw it in there. I'll read it, judge it. All right, you too.
I can be found at @ProfanityBeaver on most social media sites where you can look at art and read comic books that, if you're a fan of this, you very well may not even be a fan of.
All right. You can find me at Sheta_low on Instagram for art. I'll be done with the Elantris or our podcast logo, and I'll be posting it on there to see some of the sketch work and some of the other thumbnails of the ideas I had. So that's coming up. That's it.
So much enthusiasm.
Plugs are always usually the part where people just skip anyways in a show.
No, not our plugs. We're going to get them so cool. Everyone's going to be watching only for the plugs. Well, especially once you've listened to 100 episodes and you're like, I fucking know where you are on Twitter,
The worst are when the plugs are always like 10 minutes long to get through everything. It's just like, oh.
As long as they're not at the frickin' beginning of the episode.
You should start putting them in the middle.
In the middle.
It's like, well, try to fast forward through this.
And they're going to be like 20 minutes long.
Well, all right. Well, that's going to be it for our episode. Like we said, if you're reading along, Elantris Chapters 14, 15, 16, 17 for next week. And so, yeah, everyone, have fun.
Ciao.
Yep. Bye.